Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real People, Real Stories, Raw. We are coming in live from all over the globe. We're as far away as Pakistan and as close as into Canada and the United States. I'm excited to have with me tonight a panel of co-authors of a brand new book that is due to be released this Tuesday, April 14th. On Amazon and other booksellers. And the name of the book is called Sacred Hearts, Spark of Light. And the premise of this book is it's the third installation in the Sacred Hearts anthology series. It's a collection of stories that highlights the strength and willingness to overcome some of the most traumatic events ever endured. But more importantly, it is a compilation of self-discovery and self-acceptance by a diverse group of women, men, and young adults from around the world who demonstrate there is no shame in our personal journeys. On these pages, these brave hearts rise above abuse, neglect, and trauma to live full, bright lives and become a beacon of light, illuminating a path for others to follow. I couldn't have written that better myself. I'm gonna thank the editor or the copy person for putting that together for us tonight. I would like to take a moment here as we wait for more people to join us in the community who are watching us live or in replay. We appreciate you so much for joining us tonight. For those of you that are celebrating Easter and Passover, happy Easter Sunday and happy Passover to those of you in the Jewish faith. I would, again, at this point, like to introduce my co-panel this evening. Every one of these people that have joined me are, in fact, part of the same book project. We all co-authors together. We have coming in from Pakistan, Taqwa Ahmad. Welcome to the studio, Taqwa. We have Louise coming in. Mora-Castillon coming in from Canada. We have Darcy Hope, who splits his time between Canada and Phoenix, Arizona. We have Alexis.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you. We have Alexis coming in as well, and from Canada, and of course Debbie coming in, known as Deb's Deb in the world of social media. It's been a long time since Deb and I have shared a studio space. We spent some time in a green room, the show before the show, and it's been really nice to see you, to see that smile, to hear your voice. It's been some time. Although both you and I have spent some time over the past number of months watching replays, a lot of shows that we did together back in 2019. What I'd like to do is invite each one of you to take a moment. Deb, you probably got it already going on your end to share it out to different channels, different stations, and on Facebook that we'd like to share with. I just want to invite you to share it out there. I'm going to do some sharing as well. But while we do that, I'd like to invite each one of you to begin to share a little bit about how this project has impacted your life, what you have learned about becoming an author. For some of you, it may in fact be the first book that you are co-authoring. Others, I know you have done a few different books out there, but I'm really interested to learn about what this experience has been for you, why you got involved in a project in the first place, and what have you learned about yourself. And with that, what I'd like to do is invite my co-hosts from many, many shows back in 2019, Deb's Deb, Debbie, known as Deb's Deb, to really just to start to begin to open up and share with us why you got involved in this project and how it has impacted your life.
Yes, wonderful. Well, I met this beautiful lady on Facebook with who I was just going through people at a time. I was looking at people who I could add on my Facebook, and Daphne McDougall was one of them. And I added her on my Facebook, and she said, "How come you added me?" And I said, "Creator just draws me to people." And she's like, "Well, you have to meet these three people," and Brenda Hammond was one of them. I ended up going to a yoga class with Brenda and Daphne and Nancy that they were doing, and I met Brenda and realized that she has so much to offer. And I gave to her my story, and she said, "No, you need to be in this book." And I that was my journey. That's how I met Brenda, was through Daphne, and it's just been such an incredible journey from there. And writing my story down, I had to write 6 different versions to actually get to the final version of the story, because I had so much anger that I didn't even know I had. It was such a process, such a beautiful, enlightening process. What I wanted to share with the world, I wanted to share an uplifting story that where yes, I've been through trauma, yes, I've been through sexual assault, I've been through a lot of things, but I came out the other side and was able to help other people with it. And that's the story and the legacy I wanted to leave. So I went through 6 different versions of the same story until I finally got to the one where I'm like, okay, I finally was at peace with myself. And that's the one that I published, is the one where I'm at peace with myself.
Thank you for sharing that, Deb. I can only imagine. We were all, let's say, limited to, I think, roughly 2,500 words or so. I may be off a little bit on the numbers. And it's interesting, when we're asked to express an experience, yet we have some limitations around it.
Mm-hmm.
It can definitely be a challenge. And as you said, you had to write it 6 or 7 times until you were at peace with what you submitted to the team to work on copy and editing of the book for your story. What is it that you learned? What would you say is you learned most about yourself during this process?
What I've learned is that, and the 3 things that you taught me when we were co-hosting together, is that you have to feel it, you have to reveal it, and then you can heal it. So I learned that I had to feel it and then to reveal it. And the revealing is probably the hardest part, was the hardest process for me, was to reveal it, because I had to be sure of what I was revealing that would be beneficial not only for myself and my future self, but for other people to read. It had to be a benefit. It had to not just take them down the spiral of negativity and, oh, for me. I wanted to be that light where I can help myself. When I read it, it gives me something to smile about and be like, I'm proud of them. So to reveal was one of the hardest processes, and now I'm able to heal from it, and it's pretty incredible. I can't wait till this is published. It's written, it's permanent, and I've done a lot of posting online, but that's not as permanent because you can just delete it. Once it's in a book, though, it's done, and I'm just so happy. I can't wait. I haven't seen the final copy. I don't read it. I want to read it for the first time from somebody else's eyes, and that's what I'm really excited about.
What I have found interesting is I don't know when you submitted it to. We had all had the same deadline, but it has been so many months, and it wasn't until about a couple of weeks ago that I thought to myself, Deb, I said, I didn't even remember what story I had submitted, because life is full of stories. We are blessed in this lifetime with many experiences and circumstances that we experience in life, and through that, each one can potentially become a story of hope, inspiration, not only for ourselves but for others. And so I really, it had been so many months. It felt like almost a year ago, about 8 months ago, that I think we had a deadline. I went back and looked at my original version to see what it was that I even shared, because what I've learned in my own let's say my own experience of becoming a writer and a blogger and writing for digital publications, as we continue to learn and grow in our own experience of life, our perspective changes on the experience. And sometimes we look back on what we wrote, and what seemed so valuable and so important and such a key point is no longer holds that same power behind it. Go ahead.
I completely agree. If I was asked to write that story now, I think it would be actually completely different from what it is, which means I have another story.
So the old stories are there, but how we are attached to them, in fact, changes.
Yeah.
If we're doing work on ourselves, and if we're continuing to grow and learn, our our attachment and our relationship, our perspective with what happened, in fact, may change in a healthy way, right?
Completely. And I find that being able to write this down and make it this permanent actually reminds me how impermanent the situation is, and how we can overcome right now. And I know I'm going to bring up the big thing that's happening with this pandemic. It seems like the biggest thing right now, because it's affecting everybody. We're going to look back on this 2 years from now and be like, holy man, we did what we're told. We did everything that we possibly could to make a difference, and look what we did, and look how we shone. We chose to shine. And that's how I see every struggle. Right now, we're in the eye of the storm. We're in the thick of it, but just wait those 2 months, 3 months. It's going to be a different story. We're going to have a different story to tell. And it's a story of hope. And I'm really excited to share this book with everybody. Now everybody has a time to read this book, which is really incredible.
Beautiful. Yeah. I'm going to take a moment here just to ask if you all can check your audio. I'm getting reverb here on the back end. Perhaps someone's got some audio up on another device. If you could lower that down to 0 or turn it off, that'll be helpful. Deb, thank you so much for sharing that. I would like to take a moment here to just express my gratitude for having Taqwa join us from Pakistan. You are our, let's say, from a distance standpoint, the furthest from, let's say, all of us where we are in North America. But we are so honored to have you as part of this project. The last time that Taqwa and Deb and I were in a studio together, it was back in earlier of 2019. We interviewed Taqwa. She was 12 years old at the time. And now it is a year later. Happy 13th birthday.
Happy birthday, Taqwa.
Last night, Taqwa reached out to me and she asked me a question that was so beautiful. And I decided to ask her if we could just have a quick video chat, because I wanted to see you and I didn't want it to be distant through a text. And it was like 6 a.m. in the morning, which is right now, it's 6:30 for you over in Pakistan. And so we actually had a conversation. We had a video call, which was just beautiful. And I shared with Taqwa that the show that we did together last year was the all-time most watched, viewed show in the history of Real People, Real Stories, Raw. We have been doing the show now for close to 2 years. And the show we did with you was the all-time record-breaking show.
Almost 10,000, Taqwa.
How does it feel for you, Taqwa, to have that, let's say, to have that acknowledgement that you had so many thousands of people view the show that we did across the world? Because obviously your message was very important for people to hear. Why do you think that was? What was it about your message that was so important, do you think? Do you remember what we even talked about?
Yeah, I know we have been talked yesterday night. Yeah. So first of all, hello everyone, and thank you so much for Jay and for having me on his show. So I have time to share my experiences with you guys, and I'm also thankful to the Sacred Heart team who gave me the chance to share my story, my experience, how I survive in this world, in this society. So thank you so much for them too. So yeah, I think where is the peace? Like people like peace. So people like love, people like peace. So wherever the peace and love is, people love to watch that show. So that's why I think people watched our show and people like our show. That's why. Because we have no negative talks, we have no wrong talks, we have all kind of peace and positive talks in our show. So that's why.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Taqwa. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to you in a little bit because I'm really excited to and honored to call you my co-author and know that we're sharing
Thank you.
the same book together. And I'd like to hear more about that story of what it was like for you to write for this book. But I'm going to come back to you a little bit later in the show. I'd like to open it up to Alexis and invite you to share, why did you get involved in this project and what has this meant to you?
So when I was in a challenge in 2018, I knew Bonnie and Nicole, and she kind of got me into Brenda and Joe. And we kind of did a Parksville, BC conference, and Brenda told me the first day, because I'm new, oh, why don't you join us in the book? I was like, no, there's no chance. And after her speech, I kind of say yes to her. And it took me the courage to do this book, very courage, because with my disability, it was really hard to write in a way of people understand it. So I'm glad to be in this book again and inspired by keeping everyone else into it.
Thank you for sharing that. Alexis, I'd like to ask you to share from your perspective, what is it, what did this book project do for you? What have you learned about yourself that you didn't know prior?
That I could write and kind of spoken out my story. And it's neat to be an author and tell people that if I could do it, they could do it too. Even if they're have disability. But it's an amazing challenge to do this book. And if I wasn't met Brenda or there was the Secret Hearts, I wouldn't have done this. The editors were very amazing. Partially the first book I did, I kind of sent it off after one editing, got it sent back. I was upset, didn't know what to do, and we heavy edited it, and then went through. Like this chapter, I did the first part. The editor, amazing. I have to say, if I ever write again, I want her to edit it. She heavy edited and helped me choose a title for it. And I can't wait to read it too. I kind of forgot what I wrote.
Yes, yeah. It's like I said, it's been a long time since we all wrote our chapter. It's an exciting time. The name of the book is called Sacred Hearts Rising: Sparks of Light, and it is available right now. As of this moment, I've got streaming across the bottom of the screen where the link to where, in fact, you can order what we call, it's like a pre-release of the book. And what's that?
Not to be. I see the Amazon part is typed wrong. Is it right?
Well, it's the link that I received from Brenda Hammond, and when I clicked on it, it appears to be correct. So
Okay.
I'm trusting, but thank you for bringing that to my attention, Alexis. I appreciate you.
Yes,
for
it
that.
works. As soon as I click on it, it works. Don't worry. I'm going to pre-order
Okay.
right now. I'm
There you
doing
go.
it. I'm buying
So,
with one click.
what I'd like to do is invite you, Darcy, to share with us why did you get involved in this book project, and what was it like for you to go through the process and work with the editor and work with Brenda and the team?
Well, I'm sort of like Deb in that I have a long history with a previous author named Daphne. As a matter of fact, I employed Daphne at one time. We've been good friends for a number of years. A couple of years ago, we were out having coffee. My daughter experienced a similar injury as Daphne, who wrote a story in Brenda's second book. Said, Darcy, you're so full of stories. And I like to think I've mentored Daphne along the way, but at the same time, she's done a lot for me. She's developed me. So anyway, it started with that, and I thought, no, I'm not going to put. I've always had the story in my head. When I went through what I went through back in 2004, I had a number of different books in my head. Of course, we all think one day we're going to be on Oprah and everything's going to be great, and I'm going to be a best-selling author. And my initial book was going to be bringing up kids on a budget or bringing up kids on your own, or I had all kinds of ideas. But then when you read my story, you'll see I fell into another matter. And I started writing the story from the day it started for me back in 2004. With Daphne challenging me, and she didn't really challenge me, but I sort of knew that the gloves were off, and it was like, she can do it, you can do it. Daphne's very forceful. If you know Daphne, she doesn't give up. She's not an easy sell. So basically, I took the challenge on. I contacted Brenda, did the synopsis for the story, sent it in. I always wanted to make it into a novel, because I thought it deserved to be a novel, and I thought there was enough meat to make it. So really what I learned in doing this is a few things. First of all, self-control doesn't happen overnight. Patience, in that sometimes when you think you write better than you might, and it comes back and forth from the editors and from Brenda, you can be very easily thin-skinned where you go, well, no, I don't agree with this. And to be honest with you, I have a husband, and my husband has a great English background. So of course I wouldn't even let him read it. And then I'd get it back with these comments, which I would find so offensive. But I realized I don't know it all. There's a lot to learn. Yes, there was a lot to my story. So for me, what it did is a number of things. I can't even begin to tell you, I think, how much it did for me. First and foremost, I completed something that I thought about for 15 years. For 15 years, I'd go to bed at night thinking about my story. Through the first 10 or 12 years, so many people would ask me about my story, bits and pieces, and I didn't want to talk about it. You know, it wasn't don't tell, but it was just very painful to relive it every day. So I got to the point where I became almost isolated, just like we are now. I didn't want to be around people. I had a lot going on in my life. My life was painful. But at the same point, I wanted people to know that where comes pain comes healing, where comes pain comes truth, where comes pain comes love and future. And you know, I look at everything that I went through in writing the story, and am I glad I wrote it? Absolutely. Unlike some, I remember every word I wrote. I still get a little miffed that it's down to one chapter or whatever. But you know, the most important things to remember in that story, and out of it came a lot of healing, a lot of, I'm not mad anymore. I'm not sad anymore. I'm proud. And out of that story now has come my next story, which I'm not even going to go into because you're going to have to buy it later. But out of a story can come many things. And I think out of putting it together, Brenda was so supportive. I mean, I didn't know how to put, I think I've always been good at communication and, you know, from my background in the banking world. But did I ever think I could write something that someone might buy? I thought so, but I wasn't sure that how to do it or where to go about it. Brenda, from the moment I've contacted her, has brought it together for me. And I can't wait to do the next one. Every time I turn around, I'm thinking, you know, I'm a person that has gone through a lot of changes in life. I'm the person who's gone through a lot of ups and downs in life. I'm also a person that's not afraid to talk about them. And I've got a lot of stories in my head. The ones that I want to share, though, are the ones that I think people will gain from. And I think what's happened with me from doing this book, and this may sound silly or whatever, but even with the virus that's going on, it's made me stronger. I look at it and I say, okay, this is the way, but if we all self-isolate, if we do what we need to do, I can get so angry when we don't do what we should do. But if we do, I'm calm and I'm collected and I'm supportive. And I just find that a lot of that came from the last 2 years and working with Brenda in this story. I'm so excited about this. And I'm so excited about my story, and I'm so excited that people are finally going to say, wow, from a lot of grief comes so much happiness and so much optimism that I feel like been a role model for people to get through life. So, you know, I've gained a lot from this story. I've gained a lot from the experience. I absolutely adore Daphne and where we are today. Daphne and I, to this day, or one day, Daphne and I will write a co-book, and it's just been a great experience for me.
She's watching right now, just so you know.
Oh, is she?
Yes, and she made this necklace, just so you know.
Oh, and let her tell you how she got the idea of the jewelry.
Oh, she told me all about it. I'm so happy. We have to connect. We're going to have to connect because
you know what? She should be on a commission because that woman knows people, and she knows people who have the heart.
Yes.
And the one thing Daphne, I don't think knows is that I care about her as much as, and I know this isn't about her, but I care as much about her as she does about us.
But we're here because of her. So yes, it is about her.
Yeah. And Brenda, because Brenda
obviously.
And said, get it in. So, you know, to me, this has been one of the most positive experiences. Having said that, I truly say I don't recommend it highly only because the people, no, don't get me wrong, what I'm saying is I wouldn't recommend everyone I know to write it because, you know, I think the stories that Brenda is promoting and the ones that I would like to promote is the ones where there is the turnaround of what makes it positive, how it can turn around. It's not a voice to just grieve. It's a voice to grieve and say, out of this came this, out of this could come this. And what I love about the whole experience and reading the previous books is those stories made me feel good about life. And I'm hoping mine will do that.
Oh, I can't wait to read yours, Darcy. I'm so amazed and excited and to read everybody's story. Like I've connected with everybody. I haven't connected completely personally with you yet, Darcy, but we're doing that now. But I can't wait to read your story.
And we will continue.
Oh, completely. Oh, yeah. And we have Daphne in connection. That's amazing.
And I'm now Facebook friends with Taqwa.
Oh, Taqwa. I met Taqwa through Spirituality Gone Wild through Jay Rothman. I wouldn't have met Taqwa if I didn't meet Jay. So
and there's so many experiences and connections that you make through these people. So I look now and say, you know what, I'm going to beat you all for my story in the next one. It's not I'm looking to make a story, but I have others up here and they're about me. And they're about, if you like this one, then maybe you'll like this one about, like I mentioned, I have this new grandson. There's just everything has a reason and a purpose. And once you connect to that, even being with you guys tonight, great experience for me.
Write it down, Darcy. You're a writer. Just keep writing it because people want to hear it and read it. Okay.
Thank you, Deb.
Yeah. Yes, you're very welcome. And it's advice for me when I look back because I need to write down all this experience too.
I'm looking forward to reading yours as well.
Thank you.
Darcy, thank you for sharing what this experience, how it has impacted your life. I would suggest that, and I think as co-authors, you probably all have had a similar experience, that if you have your own backstory of, let's say, living in survival mode and working through, let's say, the healing process, and you've been able to come from surviving to thriving, it's a beautiful way to up-level your part of your healing journey is, in fact, to write. I initially started by just writing, journaling, and I never journaled before. And then my journaling became blogs. And then from blogging, I started to submit and became published. And then I co-authored a book in 2019. And so this is it's a great experience to share and hopefully inspire others that with courage and commitment, we in fact can improve a part of our life that have been challenged with. And so what I'd like to do is invite Luis to take some time and introduce yourself to the community and tell us a little bit about what was your why for getting involved in this project.
Hi, everybody. Good night. Thank you for having me, Jay. And Debbie and I have been chatting in the background before today, just to getting a feeling on what's going on tonight. I got to write the book with Brenda through a friend,
Louis,
Heather.
I think your camera's turned around, just so you know.
Oh, sorry. How come? Oh,
Beautiful house, though.
Thanks.
Thanks for sharing.
I don't know how I did that. Thanks. Anytime. My casa es su casa.
So, Luis, yeah, there you go. You're back with us.
Yeah. So I got to write the book. It has been something that was in the background of my head to share my story with other men out there that through circumstances in life became single fathers, and they had to actually take care of a child. And I came to Brenda and Sacred Hearts Racing through a friend. Her name is Heather Berger, aka Miss Laugh a Lot. I don't know, everybody in Edmonton probably know her. She connected me with Brenda, and I talked to Brenda about my story, and she said, "You know what? This can make the difference for other men out there that are going through the same thing." And through my personal experience, the limited resources that are available out there, and trying to create a community and a support group had put me through reaching out to other people in circumstances that perhaps we're not trained as a man to do so if things were different. Has been a very interesting experience because it taught me how resourceful I can be, how I can be emotionally strong for myself and my son, and being that example for other men out there and women too, that we can do it on our own. And also has been sort of like a catharsis of learning about myself, and in the last in 7 years now, how I change as a human being, as a man, as a father, as a friend, and how to overcome those challenges that otherwise you will not have any idea how to do it if you're not put in front of them and make the right decisions at the right times.
Beautiful. What would you say, Luis, is what have you learned about yourself from opening yourself up, showing some vulnerability, and contributing to Sacred Hearts Rising, to this book?
Well, being a man is not easy to show yourself vulnerable, especially when you come from a Latin culture. That's a no-no. You don't show that you're have feelings or you have emotions. Uh, but we do have emotions. We get hurt. We are taught to shove them down and shut it down, and learning to acknowledge them and accepting them and working with them to transmute that feeling into something that it will give you the drive to turn it into something positive. Because we all come to that position where we can either make it positive or negative in our lives, and when we choose to make it positive and get the best out of you in that crossroad, it shows you how strong you are. There's a phrase going around that says, "You don't know how strong you are until all you have is being strong." So when you're put in that situation where you have to be strong, you know how strong you can be. And sometimes you have more to give, more strength to keep yourself going and pushing through the situation.
That's beautiful. I love what you just shared. For those of you that are watching us in the community this evening on live or replay, you may be picking up, God bless you, that we have not dived into the specifics of our chapters. And that is intentional because we'd like to invite you to pre order the book tonight on Amazon. There's a link in our feed that shows where, in fact, you can place the pre-order, so you have an opportunity to read the book. Yeah, at the bottom of the screen is the banner, and each one of us has contributed a chapter to the book. There are a number of other individuals that are co-authors with us, and they'll be joining me. A number of them, another 5 more, will be joining me tomorrow at high noon on the west coast of the United States, 3 p.m. in the East Coast, to share a very similar format why they got involved in this project. But as Luis just shared, I believe this may in fact be the first book of the anthology where men have contributed to the book. I believe the first 2 books were females only. Deb, is that your understanding, or anyone else that want to contribute? Did I get that right?
Yeah, completely.
That was my
It was
understanding.
for women who experienced trauma. And then I think third book with the picture that you see now, there's a man in the middle and 2 beautiful women angels on the other side of them to support them. And I feel this is such an incredible opportunity for men to be supported by the feminine and masculine and feminine coming together. That's what I feel.
So that's your interpretation of the book cover.
Completely.
Correct?
Completely.
Yeah.
Well, I know
love
when
it.
I sent my story in, or asked Brenda initially, this would be going back almost 2 years, that I don't know if it's that she hadn't thought or they just hadn't done it or whatever. I felt a little awkward going to Brenda saying, okay, here I am. This is who I am. And then, of course, I've got a name that can be often used by a woman, Darcy. So I said, just so you know, I am a male. Because I thought right away she might say, oh, this is just around the female experience or whatever, but she was very, very receptive right off. But again, it was something I just didn't know. I don't think Daphne was sure at that point whether or not she'd be interested or whatever. So I don't know when and how it changed, but I'm just glad it did.
And in the second book, there actually was one male, and he had, if you
was there?
read the book, yes, he has autism, and I don't know completely, but he goes through, it's such a beautiful chapter. I read it. It's about how he looks at his day and how other people view him and how difficult it is for him. It's such a beautiful chapter what he goes through. So there is another male in the second book, and I met him. We did the drumming ceremony. We connected on such a beautiful level. So he's in the second book too.
Okay.
Good.
Well, I misspoke, and there's a reason to buy the second book in the anthology if you want to read his story. That's always an option as well. We have lots of choices. Ms. Taqwa, I just want to welcome you back and acknowledge that when you wrote your chapter, you were 12 years old. You were not even 13 yet. Now you are 13. But when you penned your chapter, when you wrote your chapter, you were a 12-year-old young lady. I'd love for you to share with us here right now what it was like for you when you were first invited. I believe you were brought in through through the show that Deb and I did with you, introduced to Brenda. And what was it like for you to be invited to work on this project?
First of all, I want to thank Deb because of her live session. Who don't know me, firstly, I want to introduce myself. Then I will explain about my story more. So, my name is Taqwa Ahmad, and I am a social activist from Gujarat. I am from Pakistan, and I was born with spina bifida. Due to it, my lower body is paralyzed. I use wheelchair for mobility. Nowadays, I'm also suffering from UTI, but for peace, I'm always available. I'm a passionate, creative woman. Age is not considered here. Even I don't have all the answers, but I know my worth. I will not tolerate about being anyone who make me feel less. I wish to be a role model for the persons with special needs by showing the world that physical limitation cannot limit the true potential of an individual. So basically, the physical potential cannot make the limitation to our thought. So that's the thing I have wrote the book for. I have wrote the chapter for because I have saw so many hard times in my society because the people just took pity on me and they said to my parents that you have done a bad thing. So that's why she is the cursed child you have gotten. So my parents cried a lot, but when my mom carried me, she said one thing in my ear: child, we will fight for you. No matter how, but we will fight for you. We will never let you down anyway. So they make me at this point right now, and they make me a tray bed. They call it tray bed. So I am a special child. Allah made me special, so I want to do something special in my life for my country, for special people, and for all those who are forgotten. And for that, they make me a tray bed, and that tray bed they carry me everywhere on every occasion, like marriage, every occasion. And you know what? My relative said, "Why are you taking her to every occasion? Put her down in back behind like rooms, so she will complete her time and she will get to go to Allah back." But they said my father fight for me. He said, "No, I will not let her down. She is better than my 10 sons." So he protects me and my mom protects me. You know what? My father prayed for a girl, and he is a very loving husband and a loving father as well.
Ta-
So
Taqwa, I want to
he told
interrupt
me,
you. You chose your parents and they
sorry,
chose you. I wanted to just interrupt you quickly, but you chose your parents and they chose you, and I'm just so grateful to know this. Thank you. Keep going. I just needed to interrupt you.
yeah, thank you so much. No worries, no worries. So the thing is, you know what? My father told me he prayed to Allah that give me a daughter. And when I came into this world, the every person who came into the hospital, they were crying that born they're born a girl with no moving legs, no ability of moving legs. What? What is this? So when my mom wakes up, when my mom wakes up, one of my relatives said to the doctor that doctor, is she's going to be spending her whole life like that, not moving her legs? And these words, you know what? These words get on my mom like a bomb, and she was lost her senses for a moment. She said she thought what Allah was do to her daughter. But then she made her decision to keep me and to take my good care. And I don't pray to get things easy. And I pray for the strength to deal with any challenge that comes in my way. My
Taqwa,
sickness is a very big challenge for me as well as for my parents. But we have learned to live with this challenge. This is the source of our true happiness. Yes, dear Deb,
I just wanted thank you. Thank you. You have such a beautiful message to share with so many people. I want to ask you right now, with what's happening in
thank
the
you.
world, and there's so many people that are suffering, you know what suffering is. What message do you have to give to the people who are going through a hard time right now?
I have wrote a poem on this. Let me read that. If you I have wrote a poem on this,
Oh,
so that's
please
why
read it.
I
Oh,
have to
thank you,
share it.
Taqwa.
Sure. Go ahead.
To the whole world I have wrote this poem for. So I want to share this. You will remain alone. If you speak louder to anyone, will consider others as inferior. If will defraud someone's right, the ego will show just unjustly. You will then lose dear ones, will remain alone. Just think for a while, have a talk carefully, listen comfortably to everyone. Take comfort in yourself as you will show rage. For no reason will remain alone. Self wisdom. To every autumn there is spring. Life is inconstant. There is a lot of hope. If you will increase the desire, will remain alone. How many relationships you have? They make asserts. Love is tested by them. Love is shared due to them. If you will go away from them will remain alone. You will remain alone. Thank you.
Wow, that was so powerful. I want to ask you what is the main message within that poem? What's one thing, the one message that you wanted to give everybody within that poem? What is it?
Give due respect, love each other, and live peacefully and stay positive.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. You're such a great poet, and honestly, I'm
Absolutely.
so blessed we met. I'm
Thank
so blessed we met, Taqwa.
Thank you so much.
Taqwa, I'd like to
That-
ask
Thank
you.
you.
I would like to ask you, Taqwa, what was the biggest lesson? What was the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself in writing your chapter for this book? What did you learn about yourself that you didn't know prior? Anything come to mind?
Sorry, can you repeat the question because there is a little bit a distortion in your
Okay.
voice.
All right. I'll speak it again. My question is, what have you learned about yourself from this experience of writing a chapter in a book that you didn't know prior?
If I am the source to make someone's house, if I'm the source to give someone happiness, and someone's make a house, and someone's give food, and someone's give happiness, someone's give clothes, so I feel more than happy to help others, and that's the motive of myself, because there are so many people around us that they have the same life like us. So if we get broaded, they're not. So if we can help them, so we have to.
Beautiful.
So that the motive of my story is that the people are like me have to come in the mainstream and have to get the same rights in our society that they won't get. Like the
Beautiful.
normal people get the rights in our society, special persons don't get the rights. So that's the motive of my story.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Taqwa. Taqwa, I'd like to ask you, is your mom or dad nearby that maybe they can come into the screen? Because I do have a question for one or both of your parents if they're available.
Okay,
Is your
I'll
dad?
call my father.
Why? Okay. Taqwa's dad's name
I'll
is
call my
Wahid.
father. Yep. So, my dad is just a very loving dad because he can pray for a boy, but he prayed for girl. So, you know what? When my relative said she's a curse, and the next day there was um, um, a saying by a person that the daughter don't get the bad thing that her father do, and no father the blessing of Allah, they get no curse if the father do wrong thing, and the father don't get cursed if their daughter do wrong thing. So here's my father.
Sure. Thank you.
Assalamu
alaikum. How
Hello,
are you?
Wahid. So nice to see you coming in. I want to ask you, I'm sure you must be in the other room of your home watching your beautiful young daughter show up one more time, not only for herself, but being a voice as a social activist in Pakistan and getting all kinds of acknowledgments and awards for the work that she has done and continues to do, even when she has been challenged with some significant health issues this past year. How has it
Yeah.
been for you as her dad? And I know your wife is nearby. How has it been for the two of you as a parent to, she today is a social activist, but she learned that from both you and your wife, who were her social activists when she couldn't have a voice yet because she was a newborn. How is it for you today to watch Taqwa as a 13-year-old show up, even when she has been challenged with health issues, in and out of the hospital this past year for some significant stays? Tell me what it's been like for you and your wife, and even for your son as a family, to watch Taqwa, no matter what, show up for others and to have her voice heard for others.
Thank you very much for your time you giving me. So this is a great opportunity to tell the story of Taqwa, the whole world. I'm very grateful to all of you who loves Taqwa so much. This is the way. This is the thing that Taqwa makes me proud for this. And you asked me about the health issues of Taqwa, and we proud on this child since when she got in this world. We fight a lot. We love her a lot, and when the chain is coming bigger and bigger, and you peoples are meeting with her, so it's really an opportunity for her to explore this world and tell this world to how to live in this world with love, peace, and harmony. So I appreciate and congratulations to all of you for this book launch of your Sacred Hearts. I think so.
Yep.
So it's a very great occasion for all of you. All of you, stay blessed. Thank you.
What I take away from this, Wahid and Taqwa, is that the message that your family is advocating and sharing across the globe, the world, is that regardless of a birth deformity that you may have been born with, it doesn't define who you are. It doesn't define how you live. It doesn't define your heart. And ultimately, my understanding is what you are actively advocating for is love and kindness towards one another, regardless of what we look like, how we speak, how we hear, how we see. Because ultimately, we are all still human beings that deserve to be loved and to give love. Is that a fair
So
perspective?
yeah, very much. So in this world, when we are coming on this in this world, there is a lot of problems coming with the newborn child. So when she got in this world, we immediately make a decision to fight for her life and for her struggle. So with a couple of seconds, we will decided it that inshallah ta'ala we will fight for her and for all the things she do. She is a world ambassador of peace, love, and humanity and positivity. With the grace of Allah Almighty, inshallah ta'ala, with the help of the other, with the help of you guys, she will be fine, inshallah ta'ala. And we saluted all the parents who have such such a person with disability. I want to say that don't let the life behind doors for curse. So come forward for the rights of persons with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I wanted to honor you right now as a parent because it's a challenge. You went through so many things so many challenges, and you chose the right path, the next right thing. And I'm just so honored to be here. Like you messaged me. You messaged me with Taqwa's speech, and it spoke to me, and that's how I met
Yeah.
Taqwa. And I'm just so
Yeah.
blessed, and I feel that she needs to come to Canada for treatment, and any way that we can get her there, I'm so supporting it, you guys. Like, you need to come here to get the treatment that you deserve, okay, Taqwa? So
Ab-
whatever I need to do, I'm gonna do.
ab- yeah. Thank you very much, Debs. You are so kind, and also all the members who are sitting here, a co-author of the book. May Allah bless you all. Stay blessed. Thank you so very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Thank you.
Wahid.
you,
God bless
sir.
you.
God bless you.
Thank you, Wahid.
I'm going to.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a beautiful moment for me, as I'm sure it is for each one of you co-authors, to have this moment with all of us, with Taqwa and her dad, and understand the power of each one of our stories are important because they bring a spark of light to other people that in this moment may be struggling emotionally, mentally, physically, and or even spiritually. And what each one of the authors in Sacred Hearts Rising, book number 3, Sparks of Light, bring is hope and inspiration to those that right now may feel that they are hurting, they're in pain, and they don't know how or where to begin to come to terms with their own story, whatever that might be, their own challenge in life. But here is a platform, here is a book where each story will bring perhaps a glimmer of light in your life. Taqwa reached out to me yesterday and said to me, Jay, you too are a co-author. And I would like to, with your permission, ask you a few questions so that you could share as part of this interview. And, you know, for me, it's really hard to say no, especially to Taqwa. And so, Taqwa, I'd like to turn it over to you and give you permission to now be a co-host with me in this moment on this show.
Thank you so much, Peter. Um, First of all, so I just want to ask you this: that how do you get the idea of sharing your story with others? How do you get the idea of sharing your story with others?
It's a great question, Taqwa. And I'd say that early on in my own journey of my comeback, after I had hit a rock bottom back in 2015, just shy of 5 years ago, at some point when I was deep into my own, let's say, flow of healing my mind, body, and spirit or soul space, I understood that my story needed to be shared because I was just living a modern American life as a man and chasing the American dream, as we refer to it, or modern dream, uh, accumulating a lot of successes in my life. But within, I was suffering within myself. It wasn't enough. I always felt that I was sad, I was unhappy, even though I had accumulated great successes in my life. Beautiful wife at the time, 3 sons, fancy cars, homes, made decent money. I had a very successful career in business, but yet inside I was not well, and eventually it caught up with me, and my body was breaking down, and by the time I woke up, I was near death and in the hospital. And during the process of having the courage to make changes in my life, and really go through the process of rebirthing, I realized that I was not that unique. I knew that there were millions of men across the world that were caught up in the same lifestyle that I had lived for over 3 decades. And that if I had the courage and I was able to heal my own wounds from my past that had basically set the path for a lifetime of choices that were not good for me, if I could change, if I could have the courage to reinvent myself emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and if I could share my story with other men, perhaps it would give them courage that they could make changes that would improve their life, reverse diseases. I had 9 diseases, medical diagnoses alone. Any one of them should have and could have taken me out. But I defied the odds. And today I'm healthy. Today I'm pharmaceutical free. I no longer have those diseases. And I live a very simple life today. I don't have the wealth that I had, but what I have is so much greater than the wealth. What I have is inner peace, and I have freedom.
And what you have is wealth. I just wanted to say that.
It's a different type of wealth, Deb.
Yeah.
It's an internal wealth. It's a wealth
Yeah.
that you can't put a dollar figure on.
Mm-mm.
Any other questions, Taqwa?
You know what? We all are warriors. Yeah.
Could you
So
repeat
first
that?
of all, when you wrote this story, did you feel comfort? Yeah, I will repeat my question. When you wrote your story, did you feel comfortable in yourself that you have shared your story, and did you feel comfortable when you wrote that story? Tell me about that.
I did, because I had
How you feel when you wrote story?
when I had written a story for this book, I had spent about a year and a half.
Because you're sharing your personal thoughts, your personal story.
Can you hear me, Taqwa? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I was saying, yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I was saying that because you are sharing your thoughts, your personal thoughts, your personal things, your personal thoughts you were sharing with the other people. So how you feel? Did you feel comfortable after writing the story?
I did. I felt comfortable because I had some practice. I had been blogging and sharing a lot of my journey of the choices I was making and healing in a very public way. I'd done it through social media. I'd started to get published in news magazines, and so I was already comfortable with it. I wouldn't have done it if I wasn't. I'd say that the process of writing, for me, learning how to write, how to journal, has been very cathartic. It really helped me learn how to express my feelings as a man. And the other part of it that I learned that was really powerful, today I use it in coaching with my clients, is after I write something, I read it out loud to myself first. Because when I hear my voice speak the words that I just wrote through expressing through writing, it makes it that much more profoundly impactful for myself. And if the tears didn't come from the writing, the tears came from hearing myself, my voice speak the words. And then after I do that, I take it one step further, and I'd ask a friend if they wouldn't mind if I could read out loud what I had just written. And then it gave me another opportunity to hear the vibrations of my voice, the throat chakra, as it's referred to in the spiritual community. And through that process, it really helped in the healing of whatever wounds or topic, circumstance that I had just written about. So I invite anyone that's listening tonight in our community, even as co-authors, when you do writing, read it out loud because it brings so much more power to the words come alive. It's like if you imagine if you read a book and then the book converts into a movie and seeing people, the actors in the movie, speak the words that you had just read, it takes the book comes alive. It becomes real reality. And so in our own healing of our own writing, I invite all of us to read it out loud and have that same experience that I embraced. And once I embraced it, I never let it go. I just continued with it because it felt good. Deb, you were shaking your head. Is it something that you've experienced?
Oh man, you're the one who taught me this, Jay. When you got me to write a letter to my inner child, I wrote it down, but I didn't read it out loud. As soon as I read it out loud, that's when it was concrete to me. And I haven't read my story out loud yet. So as soon as I'm going to order this copy pre-order on Kindle, and I'm going to read my story out loud. I'm going to give it all the power it needs. And
Beautiful.
I suggest every single author to do that. Order the Kindle version, read it out loud, and let the power flow.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Deb. And I'd love for you to share with the group offline how that experience works for you. I'd like to take a moment here. Oh, Taqwa, thank you so much for interviewing me. I want to take a moment to thank you once again for that. I invited Brenda to jump into the studio real quickly. Brenda,
It
well,
last,
you're, I invited Brenda to join us just for a brief moment
and I
here.
just want to
Brenda, can you take a moment just to say, say a couple of quick words to the group here? I invited you unexpectedly. This was spontaneous to have you come in just to share a few brief words with the co-authors that joined us this evening.
You can tell it's very spontaneous by the look that I'm wearing right now. But anyway, I just want to say that I am very, very proud and humbled that these authors had decided to share their story in Sacred Hearts Rising. And the purpose of Sacred Hearts Rising was to be able to give that avenue for people to say what they needed to say, to share their stories, and to turn some of those negative things that have happened to us into something very positive and very beautiful, so that other people can look at our stories and say, if they can get through this, so can I. This can be a blueprint for somebody else. It can be a blueprint for somebody who's suffering from brain injury, like Darcy's daughter, to say, don't give up hope. Just don't give up hope, no matter what anybody says to you, whether it's brain injury or you have been sexually assaulted, you are a single father, you are suffering with disabilities, you have made poor choices in your life. It doesn't really matter. The thing is that you just keep going forward and never give up on who you are in your soul, because life happens to everybody. It's what we do with it is the important thing.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Brenda. I love what you just shared. I also want to take a moment just to acknowledge you and the work you've done. Sparks of Light is the third anthology, the third series, the third book in the series.
Yes.
And this was your baby that you launched a few books ago. And for you, if you could just take a moment, real briefly, just to share, how has this experience changed your life?
Well, my experience started actually before Sacred Hearts, and it was when I wrote my first book. And I, like Darcy, could understand exactly what he was saying when you write your story and you put it out there, and somebody comes back and says, "Yeah, but fix this. Yeah, but fix that." And you do get a bit hissy. You really do get a little bit upset. So I had gone through that already with 3 of the books prior. So I knew what everybody was going to be going through. I knew that it was going to be a very personal and a very hard journey in being able to let go of their stories. And when I decided to start Sacred Hearts, it was because I wanted to share the story of my granddaughter who had passed away. And I couldn't exactly write a novel about that because she was only 7 days old when she passed away. So I wanted to write a chapter. And that's how actually Sacred Hearts got started, is being able to have other people write a segment of what their life has been like, just a glimpse into them, because we all have way more stories than sometimes we want to admit that we have. And just getting one out is opening that crack in that door so that you can step forward into sharing more stories or doing different things with your stories. So it has been my baby, that is for sure. And I have been blessed to know the people who have trusted me to share their stories, to put it out there, to say, you know, we got your back. We understand. No judgment, no nothing. Let's just get these untold stories told so that people can learn from them and experience them and say, I'm not alone. I'm not a single dad out here trying to slog through whatever I'm going through, because there's other men out here like me. There's other people who have disabilities like me. You know, it's so isolated. Our stories make us so isolated that we think that we are the only ones because we don't talk about them. So that's what Sacred Hearts is about. And I am honored and blessed that I have been able to go on this journey with so many other people.
Brenda, thank you so much for sharing that, taking this moment to join us. I'm going to invite you to drop back off so that we can bring Alexis back in, and we're going to put a wrap to the show in just a moment here. But thank you so much for jumping in unexpectedly. It's always a pleasure to see you.
I have a quick question for you, Brenda. What advice would you give someone who's going through trauma you're experiencing right now in this situation, which everybody's going through? What advice would you give them? Oh, you're on mute.
Oh,
Brenda, were you able to hear Deb's question?
okay. My computer is kind of freezing, so hopefully I'm going to be able to catch that.
All right. She asked you, what advice would you give to people that are right now struggling with, let's say, emotional challenges of any kind right now?
I'm sorry, Deb, I didn't get that because we're cutting out.
Okay. We'll let her go. Deb, let's let her go. We'll bring it's a topic for another evening. Brenda, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll bring Alexis back in. Alexis, we've had some challenges for most of the show this evening. Although I am managing the studio, all of you have been frozen on my studio screen. It's been a challenge. Its bandwidth has been difficult. I think on Easter Sunday, there's a lot of millions of people that are using online services like this particular application. Welcome back, Alexis. I'm glad you were able to join us to close us out this evening. What I'd like to do is just to thank all of you, acknowledge all of you for having the courage, first and foremost, to step into the book and write a chapter and be a co-author with me. Secondly, I'd like to just acknowledge you and thank you for being here tonight, being here and doing this live streaming show on Facebook and also on YouTube. And so with that, congratulations on becoming an author. April 14th, this Tuesday, is the day that you can order the book, although you can pre-order it. It's been in the stream tonight. And thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to ask you to stay in the studio for just a debriefing after we go off live. Thank you all for joining me on Real People, Real Stories, Raw. We'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon for another edition of a bunch of other co-authors.
Thank you, Jay, so much for hosting this.
Thank you.
Without you, we couldn't share a story. So thank you so much for hosting this.
Thank you all for
guys.
being part of the book.
Yes, thank you, Louis.
Thanks,
JJ, I
Jay.
think we have to give a clap to all the authors. JJ, I think we have to give all the authors a clap who have shared their story with all the courage and all the good thoughts. They have shared their story to change others' lives. And
I
Brian
agree
also,
with
so we have to clap for them.
Bravo, Taqwa.
Cheers for
Taqwa,
everybody.
Thank you.
Taqwa, you are an amazing
Clapping for all the
person.
authors. And Brenda also, because we all are warriors. Because we are getting the positive change in the society, so we all are warriors. Thank you.
Thank
Stay
you,
blessed.
Taqwa. We're warriors. Thank you. We are all warriors.
Yes.
We all have the power. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Love you
Thank
all.
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thank
Love you.
you.
Yeah.
Pre-order your book tonight, right now on Amazon.
Thank-
Sacred Hearts Rising, Sparks of Light. Right here, right now. Here's your spark of light in this room. Pre-order your book. You won't regret it. Amazing stories. Thank you so much for joining us. Real people, real stories, raw.